knowledge is free. In the words of Marcus Garvey, anybody who seeks knowledge gets knowledge. It's not knowledge where we're stuck at. We're stuck with understanding.
The Empire Podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Empire. My name is Antonio the Miles. And yes, we have another great guest. She is the Chief of Equity and Access for San Bernardino County Superintendent Schools. I hope I got that right. And her name is Dr. Cherina Betters. Did I say everything correctly?
You got it.
Woo! Boom. Welcome to The Empire, Cherina.
Thank you, sir.
And how you doing today?
I'm blessed. How are you?
I'm super grateful. You know, it's a beautiful day. How's your year been?
Fantastic. Listen, I can't begin to tell you what a grace-filled year it has been. I think anytime we get to take breath, it's already a blessing. But I'm really excited about the opportunities that have been being created and already in existence that we're able to take to the next level as part of my personal work and professional work.
It's do you enjoy one more than the other when it becomes personal and professional?
You know, I have the distinct honor of having so much intersectionality between my personal and professional life. My best friend always says, quote unquote, I'm a workaholic. I don't necessarily believe that I'm a workaholic. I think what happens is I get a lot of joy and energy from my professional capacity, and it spills over into my personal life. And I think vice versa. It's just kind of the existence of my space. So I would definitely say I like to go and burn at both ends of the candle, if you will, and make sure it happens.
Okay. Well, since we're here, can you tell all of us who you are and the things that you do?
Yeah. So I'm the proud first Chief of Equity and Access for San Bernardino County Superintendent Schools. That's the job that allows me to be in so many different spaces, and I think gives me a lot of exposure to be able to live out my passion in my professional capacity. But most importantly, although that's what pays the bills, if you will, I like for everybody to understand that first and foremost, I am Sister Laverne Chase Livingston's granddaughter, and my grandmother taught me to be very humble, and so in my humility, I always like to acknowledge my Lord and Savior. So that is the totality of who I am first and foremost. I also have the opportunity to serve as a board trustee for San Bernardino Community College District, which is absolutely a phenomenal honor to live in a space, to be an elected official, work with great people in that capacity as well. I hold some other titles that regarding professional organizations. So the totality of all those things, I think, kind of make up a large aspect of my life. I'm somebody's caregiver. I have 6 kids. They're absolutely phenomenal human beings, 5 girls and 1 boy. I have a grandson. He's the light of my entire life. If he was here right now, he would be very bashful about it every time I say it, but he knows that's my baby. So, I'm somebody's daughter. I'm somebody that some people love and cherish, and I do it in kind. So it's a good life.
Gotcha. I like that. Why not 7 kids?
Good point, right? Right, not 10. Could have been.
Yeah.
Could have been.
Why not? Why not, have
Right.
a 5-on-5 basketball game? You know what I mean?
So true. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because, nowadays people are just like, I want maybe 2.
Right.
What made you decide to keep going on to 6? Or was it just like, oops?
Yeah. Well,
did it
my story is a very unique story. So my sister gave birth to all 6 of my kids. I've been raising the first set. I call them the first set of 4 since I was 21. I got them when I was 20 full-time legally through the system at 21 years of age. And so then she had a couple of more. We call them Irish twins. They're a year apart, my last 2 that round out my 6. From an early age, I just knew that I would raise her children. In fact, I told my mom that my sister was going to have 6 kids. This is before she had any, and that I would raise them. And I wasn't trying to speak a prophecy into existence, if you will. It was just something that I felt an overwhelming thing that was pushing me in my spirit. So I had shared that with my mother when I was really early in age, and she had some struggles, and I was fortunate enough to be in a position, if you want to call it that. Definitely didn't want them to be separated. Definitely had some ambitions for them, and I just did the best I could in raising them and securing them in their person, and trying to get them to be productive citizens and a part of this great democracy that we have. And so I took that as part of the push over my life that God gave me. I never wanted kids. And it was so odd because I've always felt so drawn to children. I've always felt so drawn to supporting young people. And so even as a little kid, I was that little kid. I wanted to play school. I wanted to be the teacher. I wanted to be the helper. And that's just kind of always been my role. So I'm grateful for the opportunity that I got to manifest it the way I did in regards to my own children.
Yeah. Well, shout out to you for, stepping up and doing it. Like, I didn't want to have them separate. I want to make sure they're all together. So
Absolutely.
shout out to you for having because I realized something as I got older is that people don't have to do anything.
Come on.
And so shout out to you for like, you know what? These are my babies,
Yeah.
nephew, nieces,
Yeah.
children, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure they okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So shout out to you. Because you could have been like,
Thank
no,
you.
mama want to go on vacation more
Right.
often. I got a Lamborghini dream.
Listen, see, you're playing, but right now I keep saying, that's my running joke with them right now. It's like, please know that my work here is done. So when I retire, don't look for nothing.
Okay.
I'm out. You understand?
Deuces. Y'all should be set. Y'all know how to tie your shoes, right?
That's it.
Wow. Shout out to you.
Thank you. God is good.
Amen. And works through his people, right? So
Amen.
Thank you for your work.
Of course. Thank you.
And we just started, folks. You mentioned, I think, your grandmother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk a little bit about the importance of her in her life? And because you mentioned her for a reason. We don't just mention people for no reason. Can you speak a little bit about the importance of her in your life?
My goodness. So my grandmother, there's not enough that I could possibly say about her. She's the most precious entity to ever exist, as far as I can proclaim it. She was the person when I was growing up that, and here's the thing about life. I didn't know it then. And that's also part of the tragedy and the beauty, if you will, of the story. By the time I recognized that my grandmother suffered from Alzheimer's and eventually is going to go on to claim her life in every aspect. And so I never got the opportunity to share with her influence on me, if you will. And so it's always been an overwhelming, devastating thing for me almost, to think of it that way. But my grandmother, when I was a little kid, she would, I'm going to use her language, she would carry me to church.
Okay.
And as a little kid, it was very important for her that we knew this God that she served. And I did not want to know this God that she served because church was boring.
Got you.
You hear me? They would have us up there all night and we fall asleep and I wake up and I fall asleep and I wake up again. I'm still at the same church service. So it was terrible for me as a kid growing up. But my grandmother had certain hookups, accoutrements at her home that we didn't have. My grandmother had, I grew up primarily in Arizona as a youngster, and my grandmother had what I thought was air conditioning, but it was a swamp cooler. And we'll go out there and we'll hose that bad boy down, and that cool air would hit, and I try to put my little face, because it was hot in Arizona. My grandmother had food. In ample display. Not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. My grandmother was that person that, she was a domestic servant most of her life. And, she picked watermelon. She raised her kids in that same type of industry. She worked at the swap meet selling hair grease that she made. She just was that entrepreneurial spirit, if you will, but it wasn't necessarily because she was trying to get rich. It's just her work ethic was insane. And so she was my model. So I didn't know to call it a model then. I just thought it was Nana. And so that's how Nana carried herself. And she would go yard selling. They have great names for this stuff today. Estate sales. Nah, we was yard selling. We was getting people's stuff for cheap, right?
At the yard sale.
Come on, the
Yeah.
yard sale. And
Yeah.
so we would go door to door and she would bargain and make these deals. And I'm watching this and again, didn't want to be there. And sometimes it'd be embarrassing because we'll end up going to places that, my friends at school their families would be hosting these yard sales. And I was like, I want to stay in the car. I'm not rummaging through your stuff trying to get your stuff for, some jeans for 10 cents. So that aspect of it. And my grandmother used to always speak to me about not to be, ashamed and how to hold my head up high and things that were so foreign to me because I was more concerned about my appearance. All these things I didn't know were helping me for what I do today.
Shaping you.
Come on. And because of that influence, because of her insistence, because of how she positioned herself, because of how she carried herself, because of how she showed that she cared for people, my grandmother was not the type of person to come grab you and hug you and say, I love you. Now, my mother was.
Okay.
So the balance between my mother and my grandmother was this notion of my grandmother didn't smile a lot. She didn't like her smile. So it was very rare to catch her, just cheesed up. Oh, my mother, you saw her teeth everywhere my mother went. So because you saw her teeth wherever she went, my mother and my grandmother, the pieces that I really adored about her, I feel that I took those qualities on, and the pieces about my grandmother, that stability piece, that consistency piece, that honoring piece, that humility piece.
The work ethic.
Come on, those are the pieces that, without me knowing it, because I didn't sit down and write it down.
No.
But those are the qualities that I feel really helped to build me into who I am today. And so all of that is attributed to my grandmother, because without her, my grandmother would raise her hand. Her kids would be arguing, right? These adults, my aunts and my uncles, and they'd be arguing. My grandmother would be like, hey, that's enough. And it would cease. You understand what I'm telling you? My grandmother had this power. She had this understanding, and people paid homage to her. And not just there. I'm talking about the entire community. My grandmother is why I understand community differently. My grandmother was, of mixed heritage and it was very light skinned and identified as Black, and definitely could pass for white, as what we call it today. And I remember just sharing stories about what she looked like and how it was different from me, and her hair that flowed all the way down to her back, and just how she presented herself. And those were the characteristics of my grandmother that I look at and I juxtapose against the world that we exist in today.
Nice. Can we say her name?
Her name is Laverne Chase. She was married a second time because her husband, I think they were married 30, 40 years, my grandfather, he died of stomach cancer, and she remarried, had another 25-year marriage to this fella with the last name of Livingston. So her name was Laverne Chase Livingston. But if anybody ever called out her name, they called her Sister Chase, or they called her Sister Chase Livingston. Yeah.
And,
the big old church name.
That part. And she was half white? Half Black, half white?
No. So Cherokee, Indian, right, white, and Black.
Okay.
Yeah. I think she came from Texas, Tyler, Texas, specifically. And she left at an early age, and she married, I don't know, kind of like a local, I don't want to call it a school sweetheart because they didn't necessarily go to school together, but they migrated over to Arizona from Tyler, Texas, and she actually married, her and her sister that were a year apart. They married brothers. And so we have a very close-knit, extended family, if you will, just because of the fact that these two sisters married brothers, and they both had multiple children. So it's a very close-knit family I come from.
Okay. We're getting into it, folks. We're getting into it. Yeah, we're getting into it, folks. And if you guys enjoy what you're hearing so far, please like the video, subscribe, comment down below. All right, so we heard a lot about grandma.
Yeah.
But God bless her, but we're here for you.
Okay, come on.
Right. And I wanted to say something, and I forgot, which was, I think it was something along the lines of like, being involved around certain people, we don't know that we're absorbing this information, but we are subconsciously absorbing information. That's why it's so important to um, be the best role models around children because they're sponges, as they say. But with that said, we heard more about Grandma Livingston Chase, Sister Chase. Then we heard about Miss Betters here. So can you give us a brief, as much as you can, origin story, we have to say, where you grew up, how you grew up, all the way up to the wonderful woman that you are today?
Oh, well, thank you. Shoot. Oof. So, and now you're asking me questions I never really had to sit and think about, but I will tell you in basic terms. I was born in Arizona. My mother married her high school sweetheart. They divorced. It wasn't a healthy relationship at all. I have an older sister, and she's a couple of years older than me. So, they divorced early on. My mother decided to move to California with her sister. And so I was here for a few years in the great state of California, Ontario specifically. And, my mother just started dating this another fella. They got married. I refer to him as Dad. They had a child together, my little brother. That relationship didn't last well either. And so they divorced. And then when they divorced, about when I was 8, I moved back to the great state of Arizona. So I was there up till about the age of 16. My mother had some struggles, a lot of struggles. And so I made the decision to call my aunt and my uncle, who I grew up very close with, my Uncle Walter Bratton, my Aunt Marilyn, my mother's sister. And so, my uncle was the first Black fireman and fire captain in the city of Ontario.
Wow.
And so I called them. I would come out every summer. Again, my mother and my aunt were very close. So I was always, since the beginning of time, always felt like I was their kid. Early on in my life, my aunt and uncle had 4 boys together first, before they had 2 girls. And so I was sandwiched in after the second boy, if you will. And for whatever reason, my uncle just wanted a girl. He wanted a daughter. I don't know why he wanted a daughter, and I got to be
Daddy's girl.
Come on, I got to hold it down, right? And so it was a beautiful thing. So we just had an incredible relationship. I adored him, literally to the day he died, and I always thought of them as my parents, my second parents, however you want to think of it. And so I called him because of the nature of that relationship, and I said, "Hey, listen." At that point, my sister had she had 2 kids at that point.
Wow.
She was a young teen mom. She was on her second kid. And I just felt like there was no way out of this environment. My brain told me there was more out there.
Okay.
Right? And I felt so trapped in my environment. I felt that I couldn't break the cycles that were surrounding me. And so I felt that they had a different look and view. And again, I thought of my cousins as my siblings. And so I made a phone call and I said, hey, and it was a critical phone call. So you talk about the power of connection. I called my auntie and I said, hey, listen, and I'm at 7-Eleven at the payphone, I'll never forget. And I'm like, hey, listen, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm stressed out. I'm trying to help raise my little nieces at the time. And I just felt like I was overwhelming in dysfunction. And I said, can I come and come live with you? And I remember my aunt put me on hold and she called my uncle on 3-way. And so now we're all on this phone call. I'm still, it's asking for another quarter, right? I'm doing my thing at the 7-Eleven payphone. And she said, and she tells him, hey, my family name for me is Rena. And she says, hey, Rena's on the line and she wants to come live with us. And I promise you, had there been a moment of hesitation, I would have said, no, it's too much. Without hesitation, my uncle said, well, come on. We'll figure out the details later. Come on. And so I left. And it was as difficult as it was for me to leave my nieces, my 2 older nieces at the time, because the bond was already so strong. I knew I had to do it. And so I came out, to California at that 16 years old and, picked up my life and we got to rocking and rolling. Eventually I moved my sister down to California when she was pregnant with my one and only boy. And so I was able to put her up, try to support her best I could. And the next thing you know, it was all divine because eventually, her demons kind of overpowered her. And ended up having to step in the role at 21 and take over these kids. So went to Ontario High School, class 97, shout out, let's go.
Oh.
97, 999, we was out here, Jaguars, doing our thing. Graduated Ontario High School, went to Chaffey College, played basketball, did my thing. Google me. I was
Google
legit.
her, folks.
I was the real. I was the realest, right?
Okay, what position you play?
You know, I wanted to be the point guard, but they was hating. Not a lot of haters out there. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So I was relegated, 3, 4, 5 at times.
Okay.
I could jump.
Okay.
So because I had some hops, it worked out really well for me. And I tried to be aggressive and, just kind of do my thing. So I played basketball previously in Arizona, got to be on the varsity team, went all the way up to the state championship. So we were doing well. So that was my sophomore year. So when I transitioned to California, it was on the heels of that. So I got to go run out there and play on the basketball court. Again, Chaffey College, played basketball there, had a good run, had a great time doing that. Then transferred to Cal State Fullerton. Got my BA in political science from Cal State Fullerton, started teaching, first Ontario Montclair School District, did that for a couple of years, and then got a job in what I thought was Yucca Pie.
Yucca Pie.
Yucca Pie, but was Yucaipa Calamasa Joint Unified School District. Really, had who I am as a professional as far as experiences. First Black teacher there.
Wow.
Yeah, that was different. Okay, could be a podcast by itself.
Very different.
Woo!
Very different.
Ha! Different.
Come
It was different. Come on, look, listen.
Coming on.
We was out there, okay? Listen, I remember walking in there, and I spent a good 15 years there. I remember the first, they have this, the school district is small enough where at the time, might be bigger now, but at the time, we all fit in, the entire adult staff, we all fit into the gym of the high school. And I just remember walking on campus, and the superintendent, she took the mic, and we sat down, and you sat down with your respective schools, and I'm new, I don't know what I don't know, right? And I'm sitting there, and I'm just happy-go-lucky, and I immediately when I walked in the room, I was like, there's no Black, I'm the only, okay, all right,
Gotcha.
right? I
Gotcha.
accepted it. These things I didn't think about growing up in Southern California, right?
Swimming in milk.
Come on. So I sat down, and I just remember her saying how proud she was that there was so much diversity, and she lifted her hand, and she just pointed in my general direction. And all these people, I just remember my people just pat me on my back. And I was like, oh, snap, I'm diversity. I didn't know I was diversity at the time, right? But I got to tell you, to this day, one of my good friends is moving to Arizona. In fact, California girl, but her sister's left. And so we're going to go celebrate her on Sunday. But met her in that district. So many of my dear friends are from that district. I had so many parents. I had some experiences that were just insane and terrible. But I got to tell you, for the most part, my goodness, some of the greatest things that helped to also mold me and prepare me, I think, for my current role as a Chief of Equity and Access for the largest county in the entire country geographically happened because I was at Yucaipa Calamasa Joint Unified School District. So I got to do that and then got my admin credential, my little doctorate, went and did admin in San Jacinto Unified School District in the Riverside County.
Yes.
So I got to go experience that and, left that role and boom, here we are today.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of the big things that I took from the story is that, it was hard for you to leave, your nieces and nephews, but the saying is you got to take care of yourself first before you can take care of others. So it was so important for you to go and make sure that you were set up straight so that way you can be able to take care of others.
You have my exact thinking.
Right. So,
That was my exact thinking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to get in because you mentioned I'm diversity at Yucca Pie, whatever.
Right.
So as being chief of diversity and access, correct?
Equity and access.
Sorry, equity and
Uh-huh,
access.
uh-huh,
I was
uh-huh.
close. Can you just explain a little bit what that role is, and was it affected by the DEI takedown by the current administration?
So I would say this role was created. So at the time there was a board member. His name was Hardy Brown, and so he was at one point he was the our county board president, in fact. But so he served on that board. Him and my boss, county superintendent Ted Alejandre, had conversations about bringing in somebody to specifically speak to the needs, the challenges, the changes, the need for advocacy, agency, if you will, for students and staff, both internally within SBCSS and externally. Okay, outside, we serve 33 school districts. I think we got about 55 charters. So, it's a conglomerate, if you will, of an organization. It's huge, and there's so much complexity within same, if you will, because the vastness of our geographical location here in San Bernardino County. So they got together. I want to say 2018, maybe 2019. So they had those conversations. They flew the position. I saw the position, heard about the position, decided not to apply. I was happy running diversity efforts and equity and in San Jacinto Unified School District. My superintendent, now Dr. Diane Perez, was absolutely phenomenal, and she really let me just run amok. I was an AP, and she let me run all of our efforts across our entire school district. And my doctorate, when I went to Cal State San Bernardino, my doctorate is in educational leadership, but the emphasis is in social justice. So I already had this inkling, if you will. I already had this undergirding, if you will, from just my personal experiences. But now I had the book knowledge, if you will, to coalesce with them. And I think because of that, what ends up happening is my experiences suited me well for this role, but I didn't apply. So whoever, they went through the process, they ended up reflying it, meaning offering the job. For those who aren't familiar with that type of vernacular, they offered the job again, and some folks were just really encouraging me to apply. So I did so. I knew the superintendent from many different interactions. I had his children as a middle school teacher. His wife I knew was absolutely phenomenal, Barbara Alejandre. She's one of my dear, dear, dear friends. I call her my sister. I already knew that there was good stock when it came to what that leadership looked like. I knew the commitment level. And so I applied for it, ended up getting that role. And so that's what I got to do. I will say this, though. I don't necessarily know that how I kind of put me into it was the expectation for the role. They definitely wanted somebody who was going to be able to negotiate and navigate some difficult conversations. You got to remember, this is right prior to George Floyd.
Yep.
So when I stepped into this space and I was hired, I came in right before. The day I started was the day the world shut down from COVID.
Got you. Perfect.
Yeah. So I come in, and the very first thing that occurs is George Floyd, which was in May. And it was a phenomenal thing to step into, overwhelming. And we had to navigate it. And so, we did. And so that was kind of like the jumping off point for my role and what I got to do, which is what I always tell people is I get to be able to hopefully have conversations with, influence for the good, anybody who has a touch point in the life of a child. So the church, government officials, I always talk about Edison, the gas company. It doesn't matter. Law enforcement, whomever it is, if you have any touch point in the life of a child, which is anybody, I believe that these roles, my role specifically, how I try to leverage it, is to try to be responsible and accountable to other people's children.
Gotcha. And like you would have them like come in and speak with the kids or talk to them?
Difference. So
Okay.
so that could be one avenue. Oftentimes, especially professionally, we have to build capacity. The state of California is very rich in its levels of differences, its diversity, because that's all diversity means. It just simply means differences. We're very rich with that, but it doesn't mean that we have understanding. The way I like to position this thing is I talk about knowledge, and there's a difference between knowledge and understanding. Knowledge is free. In the words of Marcus Garvey, anybody who seeks knowledge gets knowledge. It's not knowledge where we're stuck at. We're stuck with understanding. So we have dimensions of differences that people don't understand. And so things that we don't understand, we like to keep in a unfamiliar pace. We want to put you in a box. And so we keep you over there because you're unfamiliar. And my job, I hope, is to help bring things into the familiar. So some of that has to do with educators. As an educator, as a person who was patted on my head and told that, my job was to serve this specific type of kid because of what I look like and what they thought I brought to the table. I had a teacher in the Yucaipa Calamasa Joint Unified School District who a couple of them who specifically set me down and explained to me that their job was to take the best and the brightest of kids and to teach them because they wanted the academics. And my job was to love kids, and typically kids who needed that level of love, even though there weren't a lot of, at the time, racial divides there. The divide there was economic. So I would get the kids who weren't on the uprise, if you will, because of their financial situation and those circumstances. Now, sometimes that would oftentimes have to do with students of color, if you will,
Goes hand in
anybody
hand.
on the fringe. Come on, anybody on the fringe. So they would sit down and tell me this stuff. And so in my role, I get to hopefully build capacity for the adults. I don't care if you're the custodian. I don't care if you're the superintendent. It doesn't matter what role you play. We all have an opportunity to build capacity because in our schools, I work at Cal State San Bernardino, very proud to work in the College of Education. I've been doing that for the last 5 years, helping to build the capacity of people going into administration, getting their teacher credential, both for primary grades and secondary. So I've had a lot of different hats in that space. The one similarity that we all have to have is the fact that if we don't have conversations as part of our matriculation into these roles, we stay stuck because there's a difference between knowledge and understanding. So we get the knowledge, but we don't have the understanding. So I hope that my job is to help build that understanding.
Yeah, understanding. And I think you gave us an example, but I'm going to ask again if you can give us maybe a quick example of the difference between knowledge and understanding.
Absolutely. So one of the key things, the difference between knowledge and understanding is the fact that knowledge, I think we oftentimes think comes from us simply knowing something. So simply knowing that somebody identifies as a particular racial group, for example, knowing that somebody identifies as part of the LGBTQ community, for example, knowing that somebody is a student that is receiving special education services. And we think because we know that we understand them. We understand the lens. We understand the best methods to be effective for those young people. And the reality is, just because we know that about them, to know that those conditions exist, doesn't mean we understand how to best prepare them for this thing called society, this thing called our democracy, and how they fit. And oftentimes, people feel disengaged because they don't feel like they belong. If I don't feel like if we're sitting at a dinner table, and I know I invited you over to my house, and we're all sitting at the dinner table, and there's some familiarity amongst certain people at the table because they're already together.
Yeah.
I'm the new person, and I come to the table. Somebody even invited me over, and I'm sitting at this table, and I'm hearing the conversation, the dialogue, and the familiarity. And there are things that are being said that I have no point of reference for. So I do not feel like I fit at this table. The minute I feel like I don't fit at this table, I already know that I don't belong. The minute I don't belong, listen, I don't participate. Come on, I don't engage. And I'm trying to use that very simplistic example to speak to a very wider cause, I think, in our school system, in our school community, in our communities in general. And that wider thing is that we know, we even might invite you. There are people who are in these spaces that we know about them, but we don't seek to understand them.
Yeah.
And it's not until we move from knowledge to understanding that we can be beneficial, I think, as a school system, as a society, B, in order for us to shift some of these things that are occurring within our society. We have to strive to be better, but you have to be intentional about being better.
100%.
Come on.
It made me think of two things. It was like, well, this goes on in probably like in the corporate field, in the business field, where, people may not feel accepted or wanted because there's cliques. And immediately when you were talking, it made me think, okay, we know who LeBron James is, but do we understand what's going on in his life personally, emotionally, how he feels, finances? We don't understand that.
Right.
But we know who he is.
Right.
That's what it made me think of.
That's real good.
Yeah.
That's real good. And can I just say
Go
something
ahead.
just
Yeah,
real quick?
please,
So let me
please.
just say this. I love that you brought that example up. So going back to the notion of DEI, I think some of the misunderstandings around it, part of your question previously was the current attacks, if you will, on DEI. And I want to say this. DEI actually began under human resources. It began as part of a government initiative. Stick with me with this. This
We're
is
here.
about to
We're
blow
with
your
you.
mind.
We're with you.
It began as part of a government initiative, especially within the business world, because as we began to desegregate, folks did not have opportunities based on their, their standing. Sometimes it could be gender. Sometimes it could be religions. Typically, it was because of
Race, right?
race. Black folks enter into these spaces, these predominantly white spaces, where they did not have the opportunity to be seen as valued, were relegated to menial roles, despite what their know-how was, despite going to quote unquote some of these HBCUs and having the most top-notch of educations, they were still relegated to their menial roles, weren't given credit. So that process of DEI began to help support organizations in transitioning from knowledge to understanding. Stick with me. From knowledge to understanding that this is what we have thought culturally about a person, about a group, about a thing. And then we're going to transition that into an understanding that, hey, we're at parity. You are me and I am you. Where we're stuck today when it comes to those DEI efforts is we've decided that we're past all that.
Mm-hmm.
We've decided that we don't need those efforts anymore because we have arrived.
Actually, who's we?
Right. And so the problem becomes, it's kind of like if you have, so I have 6 kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
I told you that before. I have 6 kids. Every last one of my kids, I promise you, 6 for 6, when they hit that age of majority, 18, woo, they was grown. And I'm looking at them like, nah. And 18 is a great milestone. A lot of things come with being 18.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, there's a graduation ceremony. You get an 18th birthday. These are big milestones in the life of a person. You get to vote. You can go die for your country at 18. 18 is a huge number. But 18 is just a number.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start talking about what that looks like in the world of DEI, just because you said it doesn't mean it's true. So just because we said there should be fairness, there should be justice, there should be equality or equitable outcomes, doesn't mean it's happening in practice. Mm-hmm. So just because you hit a certain stage and we said, hey, we've been doing this for 60 years, I think we good. No, sir. What's the evidence? Mm-hmm. So the evidence has to be the numbers for what the outcomes are. So let me give you a for instance on that one. I just told you I'm the first chief of equity and access for the largest county geographically in the entire country. Mm-hmm. The first. We should give pause anytime there's a first of anything. We should take pause. Just because you have a first, the next thing has to be that they're not the last. Now, when you talk about what those efforts have to be, it can't be just some arbitrary number that you're hitting. Well, we did it. We're good. No, there has to be some type of a metric that we're saying, this is the evidence that we know that the goal was hit. The goal can't be that we create this office. The goal has to be that we see, I'm going to use a cool little tag, our mission statement from SBCSS, that we've transformed lives through education. That's what we said the goal is. We can't transform lives through education just because we got our first chief of equity and access. Mm-hmm. It has to be over time, and we have to use metrics. Are people being viewed differently? Are people being viewed as a part of the whole and no longer, just kind of put over there in a corner? And if you do well over there, then that's some success. Or what are we hitting as the absolute metric to know that we've reached our goal? What is our common language around it? That's mm-hmm. what a goal is, common language. So we don't have common language about what the goal is, and that's why some people think we hit it, and some people think we don't. So some of these attacks, all these attacks, as far as I'm concerned, I think are misplaced, and they're misplaced because I would love for us to all believe that we've arrived. We haven't, and we have the evidence to prove to the contrary. So we have to do a better job of saying what does it mean when we say not a quota, the goal of achieving equity and access for each and every. What is that goal? How we shape that language, I think, is critical.
Yeah, and the data to back it up,
Come on.
right? And it makes me think of two things, which is like, who are we talking to as far as like what the standard of the data should be, and who are we talking about it being accomplished, and according to whose standards, right, is the data. I think it's very important because it might, from different economic standpoints and socioeconomic standpoints, demographic standpoints, people would have different requirements or expectations, in my opinion, of what they're looking for.
Antonio, you said something powerful, and can I just tease it out just real quick?
Let's go.
You talked about data. It's important that we understand. Well, first of all, let me say this. Melody Hobson Lucas, who is probably most famous, unfortunately, not for her work leading Fortune 500 companies. She's probably most famous for being married to the Lucas of Star Wars.
Okay.
So, but she has this powerful quote. And here's
She
what
would have
she
been saying
says.
his full name.
Come on, no. Cause I'm about to honor my sister. I'm about to honor my sister. Yeah. We gonna still, No. We gonna honor my girl. So God bless. Don't get me wrong. If he called me up, I got you, brother. I'm right there with you. But she says, she has this incredible quote. She says, it's so good. She said, why I love math. Why I love math. Now, I don't love math. There's a story about that too. We might not have time to get into it. But she says, why I love math is because these numbers don't lie. Numbers are always honest. Numbers do not have an opinion. I need you to understand that when I talk about data, because you mentioned data. If she loves math because numbers do not have an opinion, there is something that we are calculating wrong if data is being presented in such a way that everybody is walking away with a different understanding of the same data set. I figured it out. You ready? Here's what it is.
Let's go.
Data is inert. It has no movement. It has nothing until you apply the analytic. The problem is, what are we using to analyze the data? That's why there is such a discrepancy where some people think, oh, we're good. And some people are like, I'm dying on the vine. The discrepancy is, how are we analyzing the data? If we're analyzing the data saying there's some legal space or speak or jargon that says each and every has opportunity. If that's the analytic, we made it. If the analytic is the outcome, who has quote unquote made it, we're landing on two different spaces because again, Melody said it perfectly. Math does not have an opinion. What has an opinion is us when we apply the analytic. So data has to have the right analytic. It has to be analyzed correctly. We have to use the correct metrics. And we have to say, this is the metric that we're going to use to say if we achieved our goal. And because there is so much discrepancy, because all of a sudden the numbers look differently, if we all say this, if we're looking about college attainment, who has, not just who made it, who actually has a degree. That looks different than who had the opportunity to attend college. Those numbers look different. So we have to be able to have those conversations and do it in earnest in order for us to achieve what I believe should be everybody's mission, which is to do the best we can for other people's children.
I remember someone said, numbers don't lie, but people lie and can manipulate numbers.
Come on.
And then it also made me think the way you say about how we're analyzing these numbers is like, okay, what is the individual's, the scientists will say, intention? Because their intention will prove how things are going to be analyzed and sent to the other people's. Right.
Yeah.
And I recently heard that no scientist doesn't have like some type of agenda depending on where they're coming from, right? Who they are, what their background is. They're going to have an agenda when they... So me doing science is going to be different than Bill Nye doing science, and you doing science is going to be different than someone who grew up in Wisconsin, you know?
Absolutely.
Right? And so, it just made me think of that. But I want to continue. Because our time is so special. Man, there's so many questions, but I can't say them all, unfortunately. Jeez. So I'm going to do what I like to do, which is, I want to know if you want to play a game with us.
Okay, come on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, it's called Memorable Moments.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a picture, drawing, and I want you to tell me what's happening in this drawing.
Okay.
You ready for it?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Thank you.
So just tell us what you think's happening in that drawing.
So the first thing I see, you gotta understand the where I grew up at. Man, this is Michael Jackson, and he is on the mic, and he is singing his heart out to the crowd, and he's just showing you why he is one of the, if not the greatest performer of all times. That's what I see in this drawing.
Got you. Flip it over.
Yep.
Go ahead. You can read it to us. You can read it to us.
Okay. First time officially taking stage at Art LeBeau concert as new host of his shows, carrying on his legacy.
And who's it by?
I'm trying to look at this. I know the last part says baby.
Yeah, I think it's Angel Baby.
Angel Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is recent.
Mm-hmm.
5/23/25.
Mm-hmm.
That's fresh.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. I know that's right. Powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Get
Yeah.
that from you. So I want
Absolutely.
you to know if you'll do the honor with
Uh-huh.
us and draw a memorable moment that happened in your life.
Okay,
with us.
yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
So here's this for you.
Come on.
And
Now you
It doesn't have to be
know.
anything perfect. It can
Well,
be
good.
stick
I
figure.
promise you it won't be.
And just any memorable moment that comes to your mind.
Okay, come on.
Can you talk to us about being a board of trustee and what that is and what that means? And can you just explain that more for us, what that is?
Sure. So a board of trustee is responsible for essentially carrying out the fiduciary responsibilities of an organization. Specifically in this case, I serve as the board of trustees for the San Bernardino Community College District. We ensure that whatever the policies are, the goals of the board, if you will, are executed. We get one employee. That one employee in that instance is going to be the chancellor. For us, it's Dr. Diana. And so what she does, Rodriguez, and what she does is she runs the day-to-day operations. Her leadership is responsible for ensuring that whatever the board goals are, whatever those checks and balances need to be, are executed. What's great about it is we have a responsibility to the community. We hold her accountable to the responsibility that was bestowed upon us as a community to ensure that the community in which that she is responsible for leading is living up to the ideas that have already been preset. And so it's a beautiful thing. It's basic in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Because we don't have to get into the weeds. We don't do hiring. We don't do firing. We don't have the day-to-day implementation, if you will. Our one job is to make sure that it's running according to the board goals, that there's this fiduciary, this responsibility to make sure that we're solvent, that people are doing what we say the direction should be. And so it's a beautiful thing. Now, some trustees, my background, I went to community college district. My background is education.
Mm-hmm.
It works out well for me. Anybody could run though. So you might find some people in the roles of board of trustees and, their primary job is, they're a plumber. Nothing wrong with being a plumber.
Okay.
But there's some very intricate things when it comes to supporting that one person, that superintendent, that chancellor, in executing what they need to execute. And so some know-how is critical. I think we have some of the challenges that we see in a lot of board of trustees seats in regards to education is that there's a lot of folks who are just like, I could do that job. And they get there, and because the structure, that's how I see the role as a board trustee.
Mm-hmm.
Some other people might feel like, nah, it's my job to go run the district,
Got you.
right?
I got you.
And I do not believe that is your role. We all understand as a baseline that is not the role, but there are some people who really feel like it's their job to go and dictate, the day-to-day operations of that organization. And so, and to put their personal preferences I have a personal intention and agenda when it comes to serving students who are struggling economically. What are we doing for our students who have housing crises like the rest of our society that exists in? I'm very big on dual enrollment. What does that look like? What's the contours of that? How can we assist? How can we be a leader for those who might not be ready to transition to a 4-year school? We have certificates. We have an automotive program that we just broke ground on. Or I shouldn't say broke ground. We cut the ribbon on and opened up this incredible facility. So you're talking about a green area. You're talking about even when you think about auto mechanics, going from the fact that now we are living in a world, I have a car that's a hybrid. People have hybrid cars. They have these electric batteries. It has changed. So having that certification, having that ability to participate in the economy, and you might say, but I don't want to go do this 4-year degree thing.
Yeah.
So the community college has a very huge role in that. If I got up and said, I don't want anybody who views themselves as LGBTQ, for example, to be able to be who they are, if you will, in these spaces, to walk around this campus. I don't want Black people to think of themselves as Black on this campus. We're just all one student. Then we're denying people the opportunity to be whole.
Got you.
I have to separate my frames, and nobody separates their frames in real life. You just don't. So I struggle with people who leverage the seat to sponsor an agenda that on the surface appears to be for each and every, but the reality is we really just want our specific demographic, our group to be able to, get to the top, if you will. Those are the folks I struggle with. But overall, I think it's an incredible opportunity. You are a servant in the truest definition of the word, in my opinion, to be in that seat and to be in that role. Currently, I serve as the board clerk, so I have a leadership role in my board capacity.
Okay.
And so that's a big deal. I got to sign off on stuff and say, hey, this is accurate. And I rely very heavily on our super, well, she could be called superintendent, but our chancellor, her cabinet to be able to execute certain things. So those things are just invaluable. So I'm only in year 1 of it. I think I'm coming my 1-year anniversary, actually. So, it's pretty cool. So I have a 4-year term. Absolutely. Thank you. I have a 4-year term. So we have another fella, Carlos Aguilera, who's also on the board, and he's his background is policy and public policy. So we have 2 people who are new to the board who have a background in this thing. So our conversations are rich. We're a part of a great board.
How many people are in the part of the board?
So our particular board has 7 people.
Okay.
Yeah, and a board is typically going to be 5 to 7
That's
people.
What I thought.
So we have 7 people, and we're all unique. We're all different. If you were to hold up a picture right now of the contours of our board, we have a fella that's been there. John's been there for let's put it like this. John's been there so long. My oldest, who just turned 33, when she graduated from Crafton College, which was a good decade ago, he was the board president. His name is on her little diploma.
Yeah.
So, and she has 2 of them. So, he's been there for decades. Frank Reyes, he's been there for decades. You got Joseph, who's also on the board. And Joseph was a student board member. And, he kept going and aspired and then became elected by the community, representing Rialto. So you have so many differences. Dr. Stephanie Houston, who's on the board, and her emphasis is really CTE. And there's just this richness that exists on that board. And so I'm very fortunate.
Going back to the scientists, everyone having agenda because they're coming from a different place. So it's like, it doesn't matter where you go, everyone's going to have some type of agenda for them. Yeah. But I wanted to go forward. I wanted to move forward, right? And I wanted to know if you can indulge me, right? We're gonna take a trip, right? So I want you to close your eyes for me for a second, right? And I want you to go back to maybe you're 10 years old or younger, right? And you're indoors, okay? And you smell something cooking. Where are you, and what are you smelling?
I'm at my grandmother's house. And my grandmother, who was the most awesome cook ever, and I smell a banana pudding in the oven. I smell, even though I don't eat this anymore, I smell pig's feet just basting. And I'm about to tear into, I smell greens. I can see her TV. I can see the couch. I can see the table. I can hear her humming her church songs, shuffling around the counter.
What else is around you? What else do you see? What color is
Her
your TV?
dog is barking.
What's the name of the dog?
It's JoJo. Her JoJo is barking, and JoJo is in the laundry room area, and JoJo's a pit bull. And I don't want to go mess with JoJo because JoJo jumps on me, and I don't really like dogs too much, too swift. I got attacked by a pit bull when I was a little kid and never quite got over to have that affection for them. And JoJo's in the laundry room, and my Nana is just whistling her little songs.
What
And
song is she? What song are you hearing sing?
you know what? I hear her singing a song in such a tenor that I can't even make out the words. But the way she's thumping her foot, the way she is transitioning from washing a dish in the sink to going back over to the stove, and I hear her saying, "Oh, child," and I hear her say, "Give me strength, Lord." And I'm trying to watch TV because my soap operas are on, which really her soap operas, and I want to see what's going to happen next. And a commercial just came on, and she's giving me a directive to wipe the table off because I'm about to eat, and she's telling the kids to stop running out the door because my cousins are over too, and we're all hanging out. But I like to be in the house with my Nana because she won't give me the recipe, but I know I'm going to pick first from from the plate, and I know she's bringing some church people over, and they're going to have an incredible meal, and I could see myself peeking over my shoulder, and I'm looking at her hair, and her hair is just so pretty, but it's getting thin at the top, and I'm thinking Nana's looking older, and I get up and I go give her a big hug, and she says, "What you doing?" Because I hug her from the back, and I'm already her height, and maybe a little taller than her. And she says she's hot, and she's telling me to let her loose. And I let her loose, and I kiss her on the cheek, and there's a little perspiration on her cheek. And she tells me again to go wash my hands and call the kids in so we could eat. And that's
Beautiful.
That's what I see.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And was the pudding your favorite dish?
My God. Everything my grandmother cooked was my absolute favorite, but her banana pudding, I don't know what the heck she did to it. She baked it in the oven and she made everything was from scratch. So minus the vanilla wafer cookies, but everything else was absolute from scratch. I will that meringue on top. I will never ever taste that again. Absolutely, hands down, my favorite.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the journey with us.
Thank you for letting me do it.
Yeah. We kept on talking about education for the children and like all the children, right? So from your perspective, why is education important, and is all education created equal?
I'm gonna quote Frederick Douglass. I love me some quotes. Frederick Douglass talks about in his early writings about becoming literate. And the opposition to his literacy came from the fact that the people who had enslaved him said if he learns how to read and write, it will make him unfit to be a slave. The reason why education is so important is because it will make you unfit to be less than who you are. It'll make you unfit to not answer your calling. I think education is critical. I think education allows you to be reflective, to have a higher understanding of self. And when I say education, I don't mean that you have to have a doctorate. I don't mean that you even have to have a 4-year degree. I'm talking about you have this quest for understanding that exceeds knowledge. I think education pushes you into understanding. Education broadens your horizons. It broadens the scope of how you see the world. So education to me is vital. It's critical. It's necessary. And even if you aren't cognitively, maybe because of your age, even if you don't know it yet. So I'm going to stand in between anybody who denies young people the right to an education, because that will make them reach further than they ever thought they could. I was raised in a situation where people always told me I was smart. And I think that first inkling of self has to be from the people whom you spend the most time with. So my family used to always say things like I was smart. And I never thought I was smart. I just felt like I knew some stuff, I think I'm very intuitive. But then when I went to school, there were some pieces that validated it because I saw people work real hard for some things and I didn't have to work as hard for it. It wasn't true my entire academic career, but for many years, right? I felt like, I hope I don't make any of my high school teachers mad, but I did feel like in high school, I really felt like I was smarter than most, most of my teachers.
Hey, it is what
right?
it is.
I just gotta tell you, I gotta tell you, I
Hey.
just felt like I knew more. And I wasn't cocky about it. I just felt like I knew more. And so, to me, education is liberating. And if you don't want your freedom, then I would question your capacity to think. 'Cause I can't think of one person that doesn't want to be free.
Yeah.
So education is liberating. And then the second part of your question, I missed it. What was the second
The
part?
second part is all education created equal?
That was the heavy part. Okay, absolutely not. It's not. So I was reading an article the other day. I love to read. I wake up every morning. I probably spend the first hour of my day just reading. And I was reading this article the other day, and it was about these elite prep schools that the super wealthy send their kids to. And I was reading about the exit exams for how they get to graduation, promotion, things like that. And one of them I was really interested in because I have a very lack of knowledge in this one particular field, and it was building business plans.
Mm.
And it talked about how they spend these entire years building and scaling out these business plans. And so by the time they hit senior year, their grand presentation is a startup. And that startup may start with real seed money that's like millions of dollars. Because that's part of the investment that when you send your kids to the school, you also have to give this money up. And these kids start off with this real investment. I think about all the kids, going back to this education equal, that because of the luck of the draw, come to be in a family that has that level of resource and ability compared to other students who might not be able to have those opportunities, not because they don't have the skill set or they can't be honed, but because they just aren't in that specific institution. And it's not a knock against our schools that don't provide that. For a lot of us, and including myself, when I went to school to eat. I got to keep it 100 with you. I got in line proudly to get my oatmeal and my breakfast burrito. And I ate well, and I was excited about it. And I'll go negotiate other deals to get somebody else's food, okay? And I was excited the opportunity that I got to eat. I just happened to have a little something else that allowed me to push through some other pieces. And sometimes, when you're trying to educate a student who their only meal might be at that school, we learned that during COVID. They shut the whole school system down. We left the door open for people to come get food. So when you're living in that reality, that might not be the best opportunity for you to say, all right, y'all, you're going to create this business plan and with this imaginary seed money, and that's how you're going to graduate. Because some people are just trying to survive. So in the aspect, it's not about blame. It's not about fault, but it is about responsibility. And I think for each and every person, we have to recognize the fact that education is inherently unequal. But without it, we stay stuck in this loop where those who might not be born into situations that are highly favored because of the economic base have the opportunity to still create it. And that now can be a part of their legacy for the generations that come behind them.
Ooh, I love that. And definitely I agree in the aspect of that. Not school doesn't mean to be educated. You can find your education by just searching for knowledge, searching for understanding, which I'm glad you really hit,
Yeah.
And, I think you mentioned here earlier that, your grandmother gave you the relationship with the Lord, right? And God, right? So if you had one question that you could ask God and that he would give you the answer to, what question would that be?
So I know myself, Antonio. I spend a lot of time with me. The very question that you just posed to me about what would I ask God is something I've thought about time and time again. I think I have yelled at God. I was baptized at my uncle's church, And, eventually my aunt goes on to kill my uncle. Okay. Served decades in the prison system. And it really made me question, is there a God? My sister, being pregnant at 13, made me question, is there a God? So we have had it out, the Lord and I. And so, come on. And so I've learned in all of it to no longer question the Lord as far as how my life is going left or right, or maybe even staying on the current. If I were to be able to sit down and have a conversation with God, I wouldn't have a question. I would simply thank Him. I would say thank you for everything that you did, for every corner that you turned, for who you allowed me to be, for allowing me to know my grandmother, who is the heart that I still try to carry and build upon her legacy. Thank you for the times that I wanted to go left and you told me no, go right, and I still struggled to go left, but eventually you got me to understand that I need to go right. Just thank you. Thank you for the missteps. Thank you for just the guidance. I would just really, if I had the opportunity to sit down with the Lord, I would just thank Him, because He's given me the grace to handle every situation that I've ever been in. He's given me the grace to do it. I didn't want to raise 6 kids. I didn't want any kids. Mm-hmm. And He said, this will be your story. This will be your struggle. And all the while, He's given me the grace to handle it. So I just have to lift my voice to Him and tell Him thank you.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes. I love that. If you need a napkin, I have a napkin if you need one.
Yeah. You see me struggling over here, huh? Yeah. You see me struggling over here? Oh, man. Why your napkin look like it been through some things?
I took it out of the
thing. Man, oh my God.
We go places here, don't we?
Come on. You got me.
Welcome to the Empire.
Well, come on.
Welcome to
Proud
the Empire.
To be
here. Completely different. We got a couple more minutes and then we're going to get you out of here, okay?
Perfect.
Want to know if you want to play another quick game with us.
Come on, let's go.
It's called Quick Slip.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to give you a word, and the first thing that comes to your mind, you give me back to it. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Quick Slip. Here we go. Education.
Liberation.
Mother.
Pain.
AI.
Ancestral intelligence.
Nerds.
Rule the world.
Cardi B.
Bodak Yellow.
Cognac.
Don't drink.
Telescope.
See the world.
Ravenous.
Right now. Think of food.
Bakers.
Fries.
Cheech and Chong.
Getting high.
Patti LaBelle.
Voice like no other.
Gorgeous.
My nana.
George.
Floyd.
Oh no. Gummy bears.
Yummy.
Gilead.
Oh, Christ.
Nonsense.
The attacks on DEI.
Man purse.
Don't do it.
Pedicure.
Necessity.
Unstoppable.
Me.
When.
When, like WIN or WHEN?
WHEN.
Immediately.
Now.
Expeditiously.
Who.
So the first thing I thought of when you said who, I thought of my children. So I'm going to say who, my kids.
Go. You.
Blessed.
Yoni.
Cry me a river.
Yay.
Surprise.
Family.
My whole reason for living.
Foundation.
The church.
And that's Quick Slip.
Come on.
Mhm.
I loved it.
Awesome. And, we learned a lot about you today. Rena, I'm going to say Rena, if you don't mind. Yeah, I catch that. We catch on. We quick here.
That's funny.
We learned so much about you so far today. Can you tell us one thing that most people don't know about you, maybe even close friends? It could be anything.
Okay. I'm going to share. This is the Empire exclusive.
Let's go.
Okay. You ready? Okay, Antonio. Now, people don't believe this, but listen to me. I do not like to be on stage. I prefer the background.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer to be in the back. And I think a lot of people see me and they think to themselves when they see me because of my personality that I like to be the center of attention or the upfront person. And that's just my personality quirk. I rather have no attention, be in the back, be by myself. I don't even need people. Be by myself, relax, and not have attention. So I think it'll probably surprise people to know that I very much so view myself as an extreme introvert that lives a very extroverted life. Yeah, that's an exclusive, man.
Hey.
Don't nobody know that. And you got to be like my best friend or my kids to know that. My kids will tell you, they be like, she don't like all that.
She's like, Mama rather be home with a
home
book.
in the
book.
cut, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
They'll tell you. I don't even throw birthday parties. I don't even celebrate my own birthday. Like I don't want the attention. I like to be just at home, just that's it.
Got you.
Yeah,
That's so cool. Thanks for sharing. I was talking with Connie Leva.
Yeah.
And she was saying, sometimes people are introverts, but then their career is an extrovert type of career needed.
Yes.
So that's what it reminded me of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll share this really quick in the little bit of time that we have left. I think where it came from, I think I was always the one that preferred to be in the back. But my grandmother, my nana, used to take me to church. And part of my flexing my skill set, quote unquote, in school was because she'd always let me perform. I couldn't sing. My grandma couldn't sing either, but I couldn't sing. I wasn't that person, but I could read really, really well from a very young age. And so she would give me poems, scriptures to memorize. And she would put me in front of the entire little small storefront church, probably big as this room. And the look in her eye when I would recite something, her whole face just lit up. And I felt so proud, representing her. So I think part of it is the fact that my grandmother used to always tell me that God would use me. And I didn't know what it meant. I'm still learning what it means. But her always pushing me to the front, her always having this expectation that whatever this gift was that was in me, that it will be pulled out of me, is, I think, really why, going back to what you just said about, former Senator Leva, is why I have this very extroverted existence. It's because of this constant push to live, for lack of a better term, in front of people. Yeah. Despite that not being my jam.
Got you. I know the Spirit's told me to ask this question because you mentioned it earlier. We heard a lot about your professional endeavors, but can you tell us one of your personal things that you work on?
So I've been talking. I have a little cousin that I grew up with, like my little brother. His name's Aaron, and Aaron is a public defender for San Bernardino County Public Defender's Office. And when I was a little kid, I used to want to be a lawyer. So I am starting to enter into my season where I'm entertaining going back to school again and pursuing that law degree. Absolutely. So I'm thinking either
Awesome.
civil rights or family law is very near and dear to my heart because of the struggles I
Mm-hmm.
had with my kids and, solidifying funding. And I had to quit my job and go on welfare because that's how the system worked. It was crazy to get child care for them. I was 21 years old. I didn't know which way was up. So I would love to be in a position to help other families who are trying to figure out and navigate things because I also think it's important to keep families together. So either civil or family law.
I love that.
Thank
You
you.
know, and I guess to piggyback on that, what current projects are you working on besides, whether it's professional, personal, or anything? What other current projects are you working on?
I want to write a book.
Okay.
So I have a couple of notebooks full of just musings, if you will, just random thoughts, nothing that's cohesive or can be just a through line, if you will. But I'm gathering those things, and if not in my lifetime, maybe my kids would take that upon themselves to go ahead and put those pieces together. So I always say in my head, I'm narrating this book, but I got to commit it to paper. So again, I have probably about 4 or 5 notebooks just with tons of things, the foundational pieces. So, working on that book.
Got you.
Got to do it.
What's the book would be? What would it be about?
So it's either going to be a series of children books
Okay.
because really just kind of what we did here, it's a series of stories. So either that or it's going to just be, they're all about me.
Okay.
Right? Or it's going to be a book that just kind of details my life and why I give all the glory to God for where He has placed me. If it was to end today,
Got you.
He's always kept me.
Like a testimony.
Come on,
I like it.
Amen.
Well, I got 2 books behind you, and
that you wrote.
that I wrote.
Oh well, let's go.
And this is your year
Amen.
to write it.
Thank you.
And I'm here for you if you have any questions and
You
to
bless
do it.
me.
And we can do it because there's a reason why we're here today.
Come on.
The universe, our creator,
Amen.
put us here together to
Absolutely.
talk about this and to put the spirit into you and put
Come
the spirit
on.
into me. Today's your year to finish it, write it, and many more to come,
Thank you.
right?
I receive it.
Cherina Betters, Dr. Betters, thank you so much for being on the Empire.
Thank you for having me.
Let's say 100 years pass by, 250 years pass by. What would you like your empire to look like 250 years from now?
She gave all she could, and she never forgot where she came from. That's it.
I love that.
That's it. I want to die completely empty. And I want the legacy to be that I left it all on the table. There was nothing else that could have been extracted. That was it. She gave it all.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Give it all.
Thank you. Come on.
All the glory.
Come on.
Hey, thank you again for being on the
Thank you,
Empire.
sir. Appreciate you, Antonio. Thank you for
Can
having
you
me.
please let everybody know how they can find you, support you, connect with you,
Oh,
get some
come on. I'm on
information?
social media under my whole government name. So Cherina Betters. I'm on Facebook. I'm on X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky, Instagram. Again, just under my name, Cherina Betters. So that's awesome. You can always find me right around the corner at 601 Northeast Street, which is my home office, downtown San Bernardino. You can find me over at the San Bernardino Community College District. You can find me over at Cal State San Bernardino. You can find me just down the street. So always around, just grateful for every opportunity. So and would love to have people come join in and take a peek at some of the things that I do and hopefully continue to build this legacy that we just talked about, which is, I believe, to transform life's education for other people's children.
I love that. When she said around the corner, I don't know why I thought a barbecue spot. She's like, I'm going to get around the barbecue spot right there. You'll find me around the corner. I was like, I don't know. I was like,
Might be there too.
yeah, that part. I was like, okay. But ladies and
Love
gentlemen, I'll have the link for IG at least in the bio so you guys can find it, click on her and connect with her that way.
Perfect.
I want to thank her. I want to thank all you guys for tuning in. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below. If you want to support the work that we're doing, you can do our Cash App, which is $THEE Empire Podcast. We also have PayPal, a bunch of other things in the description. We have books, we have merch. Anything that you do, support goes back into the work to keep doing this work that we do. We love it. We love it. We love it.
Man.
If you guys can't support, just liking the video and sharing is good enough, right? It doesn't cost you anything. But other than that, I thank you guys. And Miss Cherina, is there anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
Man, shout out to my sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho. We were out here representing, holding it down. Come on, that royal blue and gold. These pretty poodles are out here. So big love to my sorority.
You had to get some shout out
I
to
had to get
sorority.
the D9 out there.
Right. I was going to talk about him, but we didn't have that much time to talk about him. So, we on limited time and we went a little bit
There it is.
over. But
Hey, we got graduation. We're about to go celebrate these babies.
that part. Anything else, Ms. Cherina, to say before?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. God
We'll
bless.
catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.
There it is. We out.
There it is.
Thank you so much. Awesome. I appreciate you, Bob.
Is it my will? To do what? To do is right. I say.
It's connected to my glasses. So anytime somebody texts me, and that thing's been blowing up. Anytime somebody texts me or calls, it vibrates on my little face here, and I get to ring it, and it's telling me that they're calling me. And
How
I'm like,
distracting.
listen, stop talking to me. Yeah, that's tough.
It's clean. Don't worry. It's a clean napkin. It's all yours, though. It's clean, though.
Thank you.